Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, we've got a brand new Game Boy Emulator, and it's for DOS. So the developer says it's not the most accurate out there, but it's good enough to run most games faithfully. What's noteworthy is the emphasis on speed, leveraging as much hardware acceleration as possible for graphics and sound. The very first release of this one is available on GitHub. It's version 1.0 and it just came out. I'll drop a link to it in the description below. It's 100% free and open source. Moving on, and we're talking about Nintendo DS emulation with NooDS, and NooDS just released on the Google Play Store. If you take a look here, it's a paid app, but you can pick up the free version on GitHub. The paid version here on the Google Play Store, in my opinion, is a nice way to support the developer. And it's worth pointing out the developer says this version is slightly modified to not request storage management permissions. It's here for convenience and as a way to support them. If you are having trouble accessing files or want a free download, try the latest release from their GitHub. Interestingly enough, NooDS also just got a brand new release, and if I'm not mistaken, they just implemented a GBA HLE BIOS. Next up, we're talking about Nostlan, a free and open source game launcher for emulators, and it just got a brand new release. So at the time of filming, Nostlan version 2.3 is the latest update, and this is the first update since May. They say here they've got cross-platform save syncing for Ryujinx, and that's thanks to the Ryujinx devs and Discord mods for helping them with that update. They've updated the Nintendo Switch database to include Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and they fixed Nostlan crashing sometimes after controllers were disconnecting. On top of that, Nostlan will ask for confirmations if you try to sync saves that are more than 2 days old. The developer says they did implement this feature after accidentally overwriting their Tears of the Kingdom saves with old saves from July, so you won't have to suffer like they did. And as a bonus here, the developer tested the Ryujinx save backup and syncing between their MacBook and PC, and they say it should work with Linux as well. It's also worth stating, while Nostlan is free and open source, there is a special Patreon version of it. With this version, you get a few additional features like backup and sync game saves to the cloud or local storage device, unlock alternate UI theme color palettes, and custom UI theming. And next up here, we're talking about EmulatioinStation, and EmulatioinStation just released version 2.2.0. They say here the 2.2 release adds many new features like cleanup tools for orphan data, file hash searching for the scraper, clipboard paste support, ability to change system sorting from the GUI, and more complete Unicode support. It's now possible to rescan the ROM directory and to update and create the ROM directory tree right from the new utilities menu, both without restarting the application. They also say new theme engine functionality has been implemented, such as rounded corners for images, videos, and animations, horizontally scrolling text containers, and stationary elements. Rendering accuracy has been improved, especially font rendering, which now has a higher quality across all types of devices and screen resolutions. On top of that, there is a lot more here. They've completely removed support for legacy EmulatioinStation themes. They've added support for downloading the Windows and Mac OS packages via the application updater, but manual installation is still required. They've added support for a whole bunch of different game systems, like the Coleco Atom, Laserdisc, Sega Naomi 2, Nokia N-Gage, PC arcade systems, and more. And they removed support for the Cave Story game system. They've added in new emulators like Mezen Standalone, Flackaz Dojo Standalone, Ares Standalone, and Sky Emu Standalone, and more. And there's been a whole bunch of other changes, updates, and bug fixes. I'm not joking with you here, there's a whole bunch of changes. I'll drop a link to the entire changelog in the description below, and feel free to check it out. EmulatioinStation is 100% free and it's open source. And speaking about free, this was spotted over on Reddit emulation on Android, and it's a whole bunch of free gaming icons with no logon needed. 100-ish full-color high-res PNGs and 31 color SVGs. This is all courtesy of Pineapple Graphics, and it's up on archive.org, and I'll drop a link in the description below. Next up here, if you're on Linux and you've got some Razer devices, OpenRazer, which is a collection of Linux drivers for Razer devices, just got a brand new update. At the time of filming, the latest version is 3.7.0. We've got a whole bunch of bug fixes and improvements, and a whole bunch of brand new devices have been added. For example, the Razer Blade 15, 16, and 18 laptops. Moving on, and we're very quickly talking about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. And if you're excited about this game, you may want to make sure you've got the disk space required for it. They say here, in preparation, we would like to provide an update on file sizes, which are larger than last year. This is due to the increased amount of content available day one. While they do have the ability to uninstall parts of the game you're not using, at the same time here expect between 100 to almost 300 gigs or possibly even more for storage. And speaking about quickly talking about something, next up we're quickly talking about Baldur's Gate 3. And Baldur's Gate 3 just got patch number 4 with over 1,000 bug fixes, tweaks, and changes. Now I'm not going over the entire changelog here because that would take forever, but there have been some balancing changes, combat changes, and more you may want to pay attention to if you play Baldur's Gate 3. I'll drop a link to the changelog in the description below and feel free to check it out. Control F is going to be your friend here if you're looking for something specific. Next up, this is kind of crazy, and I guess in a number of different ways here. So back in 1998, a Nebraska video game store shut down. Its contents were packed up and all of it was shuffled into the back of a warehouse. It was rediscovered in 2022. And a bunch of games here are completely brand new and sealed. There's 170 unique titles in total with a whole bunch of duplicates. I'll drop a link to a couple of YouTube videos as well in the description below. And interestingly enough here, and this is the crazy part, I guess crazily enough, the entire price for this as a placeholder is $1 million. They're selling the collection as a whole, not individually. And all of these games have been, I would argue, unnecessarily graded. Of course, there's a lot of rare games in this collection, and even as a collector myself, $1 million for all of this, at least as a placeholder price, is completely not worth it to me. There's a lot of cheaper ways to play these games and even acquire them. And last up here, we're talking about Sigil 2, which is the unofficial 6th episode of Doom from back in 1993. The official launch date for this one is December 10th of this year, and you can get it for as cheap as $6.66. Sigil 2 contains 9 levels and 2 deathmatch levels, custom music, and custom MIDI soundtrack. Now, if you prefer the look of something physical, there are some options as well here, but they do cost significantly more money. They do include some goodies, and you can also get them autographed. And last up here, we're talking about Nintendo Switch emulation on Android with EggNS. Now, I don't often talk about EggNS, and I don't often smile when I talk about it. However, today I'm very excited. If you take a look at EggNS's website and click on the Google Play link, the Google Play link doesn't work. And if I search for EggNS on the Google Play Store, there are 2 different links here, and neither of them actually work. Now, unfortunately, I don't know if EggNS is off the Google Play Store for good. I would assume so, but only time will tell. It's kind of like a cockroach. It just doesn't die. Kind of like those Daemon PS2 and Daemon series of emulators. For those of you wondering why I don't talk about EggNS very often and why I don't like it, there are a number of reasons, and I've talked about them in previous videos. Feel free to check those out. At a high level, though, they have been accused of stealing emulator code, like Yuzu, and I've seen very, very strong evidence to support that argument. And so what they've done here is basically steal open source emulator code, close this source, and charge for it. And on a quick side note here, for those of you asking about Yuzu Android updates, because I get asked quite a bit about them, be patient here. The development team are working on them. These changes take time. There are some very big changes in the works. Be patient, and when they're ready, you'll get them. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button. Check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate. Save your state.